If you're looking to increase the amount of flex you have on the front of your Niva, stick around. This video is going to show you how by doing that. Right, so what we're going to do is, if you ever look at a Niva and you get it under flex, the front suspension really doesn't flex that much, and it's always stopped by the bump stop. For example, once you put this in, it sits right. You know, it might sit up to there, and that's all it sits to. So this actually really suppresses the amount of flex that you can get out of the front end. And on mine, because I give it quite a hard time off-road, these actually collapsed. They were quite rotten, and it just collapsed. And now when it's off-roading, when I'm trialing it, the flex is pretty awesome. So what I did is I compressed the suspension. I put it under full flex, and then I measured the distance, and it's 100 millimeters if I remember rightly. Yeah. So if you actually measure the spring under full compression when you don't have these bump stops in, it comes to 100 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this edge here that the bump stop mounts in, and I'm actually going to cut here along that line all the way around, clean all these mounting parts off and get rid of this retainer here, and then actually put this lip here, so that gives us an extra roughly 50 millimeters, I'd say. Yeah, about 50 mil, something like that. What a lot of people do is they'll get a hacksaw or just a knife, and they'll cut about this much off the bump stop, which is all right, but what that does is it doesn't leave you a lot of rubber to provide any cushioning, so it can bottom out quite harshly. What I'm hoping with mine is if I move this bump stop up, it'll provide that bit of cushioning. You can do this. I've had a look at that. I've had a think about it. I reckon you can do this with it on the car. Because mine have collapsed, I've actually taken these off the Red Bear, and I'm doing it off the car, but I don't see why. It might be a bit tight, but I don't see why you can't do this on the actual car. If you do take them off the car, be prepared to have to buy new bolts. So these are M10 by 1.25, and the bottom ones are 35 millimeter long, the top ones are 40 off the top of my head. Be prepared to buy new bolts, because what they do from the factory is they actually put a blob of weld on the end of the thread to stop them coming undone. So you actually knacker the bolts in the process. The other thing is the bolts that go into the chassis. Again, if you're going to remove this, they can be a ball ache. What can happen is you can start undoing them, and the stud in the chassis actually starts spinning, and that means you've got to cut the chassis open and weld the stud back on to be able to undo this nut. So like I say, you can, I would say, looking at it, you could do this with it sat on the car. It's up to you. If you're doing a full restoration, then you rip it off by all means. Right, let's get started anyway. Right, so I've got that cut down. Just going to use a chisel, and this weld looks like it's split, so it might just chisel straight off.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. You are now
so we've got the all the bump stop cut down, trimmed up, and if we actually measure the height, it comes to 70 millimeters, which equates to 40 millimeters shorter than the original one, and that should theoretically give us 80 millimeters more axle flex travel shenanigans. So all we've got to do now really is weld it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be TIG welding it with the Artec TIG 210 EXT. Can't fault it so far. I've had it be maybe 2 years now, is it? Something like that. So I'm going to be running, it's about 1 mil this stuff, but given the joint configuration, I think I'm going to run at about 70 amps and maybe have some instant regret. Right, there we have it. Old and new. So like I say, it's about 40 mil difference. Should give us 80 millimeters more flex on each side. So that's a win-win, really. I don't really know why they like this from the factory, if anybody actually knows why they like that. Because really, I've had a look at the angle of the drive shafts and everything. It's not like they're over articulating the drive shaft angles or anything, so I don't really get the purpose of having these so far down from the factory. Maybe it's for spring retainment, but again, I've had it on some fairly flexed out angles, and it's never really been an issue. So anyway, let me know what you think. Right, that's it for this video. Hope you liked it. Hope that helps you out, really. I think that's the better way of doing it. You've still got that rubber there to absorb the impact, and I think it just looks better as well, really. So if you like this, if you want more videos on modifications and tuning and repairs on Nivas in general, like, comment and subscribe. Cheers for now. Thanks very much.